Hello, in this video we will be creating a mandala. Mandalas are designs where the imagery is arranged in a circle. For this project we will be working on pre-printed paper that has circles on it. I will also be demonstrating the use of different type of line and shape to create these mandalas. Eventually, we will be tracing our lines with Sharpie and then ultimately coloring with marker. But the best way to start this with is a good old pencil and eraser. So if there's any errors, I can erase and refine my drawings. Some of this video will be time-elapsed, different types of mandalas that I will be creating, just so you can see that there are different ways to do this. No matter what type of design you're going to be using or whatever shapes you will be adding to your mandala, we all need to start in the middle. That's why I have this little dot right here, so we can pivot from that little point and work our way out. Now let's say for this one, I'm going to do my classic pinwheel design. I'm going to go ahead and start that through the middle here. And please notice how my lines I create are going to be going through this little dot. Please notice for this design to work, I evenly spaced out my lines, kind of cutting it into a pie. With the pinwheel design, I just draw the line from the end here where it touched this outer circle. And then the next line goes into about the halfway point. Very important to remember while you're working on this is that you always rotate your paper like a wheel. That way you have muscle memory on doing the same types of lines and the same type of movement each time. Now my next row, it has to touch this circle and the larger circle. You'll have better chances of symmetry and balance if your shapes or lines that you're doing touches both the inside and the outside. I'm going to play off these points here to help me with my design. Now I'm drawing pretty darkly with my pencil, but that's so it's visible. I do suggest that you draw lightly when you're making your plan. Now I could leave this row right here as is, but I can also go ahead and still add to it to make it a little more interesting. Still think I can play with this design a little bit more in here. However, I don't want to get too tiny with my details because when it comes time for Sharpie, it's going to start to bleed. Okay, I have finished up with this space. I'm pretty happy with it. I can go on and move on to my next ring. Remember the first shape or first lines you add, you need to touch this circle right here and then this circle right here. I'm also going to play off the points that I have here so I can maintain that symmetry. Now, of course, I could leave it the way it is, but I want this to be more interesting. As long as I've got this inner ring and this outer ring connected, I can then come in with shorter lines and smaller shapes to fill out these areas. All right, this ring of my mandala is taken care of. I can go ahead and move out to this smaller ring. Careful about drawing too tiny. Again, your marker may bleed, so maybe you pick a simpler design for the outer ring. Okay, along the way I did add some lines that I had missed in previous designs. That's of course always fine to do. Also, I did refine some of my lines or some of my shapes or placement. That is also fine. But you do need to make sure that you are happy with your design before you move on, because the next step you cannot erase. We're going to trace over everything with Sharpie, black fine point. I'm also going to trace over the original circles on my paper, just so all my lines are consistently sized. Now I should be about ready for coloring my mandala, but what I always recommend is go through, clean up any extra pencil lines that you do not want to include in your final design. If you have extra pencil lines, they might start to smear with the colored marker. Also, before I show you coloring, I will be demonstrating a couple other mandala designs. I'm about to color my mandala using markers. Of course, mandalas can be filled in with various mediums in color, watercolor, crayon, but this method I will be using marker. It is very important when you're coloring with marker that you don't just pick one color for one portion of your mandala. Like if I colored over this entire space with violet, my lines would disappear. So it's very important when you're coloring that you find a color for each space and color in a way where your lines aren't going to blur or disappear. My mandala is complete. As you can see, I actually used a limited color palette. I only used 3 colors. I prefer a limited color palette because I find that to be a stronger design. So I highly recommend maybe only using 3 to 4 colors in your design. Additionally, there is no white left. I picked 1 color for the background. That way it does not compete with my design. What colors you use are entirely up to you, but please be careful, again, not to just pick 1 color for 1 ring where your lines disappear. With that said, I hope you take your time, do a nice job, and come up with a fantastic composition. Thank you for watching.